G'day guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Wildkard. Thank you for being here to watch my content. As always, I really do appreciate you giving me the pleasure and the privilege to talk about the greatest sport in the world, rugby. Now, I apologize for this news update because I've been sick for the last couple of days because, people nowadays lack common decency and walk around with their mouth open, coughing everywhere. And yes, I've been sick, pretty much in bed for the last 2 days. So if I do have to sneeze or anything during this news update, I do apologize in advance. So yeah, without further ado, let's get on with the news. Last week was officially, I guess, the first week of the Rugby World Cup warm-up matches. We got some warm-ups played beforehand. So big results came out. Obviously, the Wallabies pushed the New Zealanders in Dunedin with a close loss, I would say, congratulating themselves on a close loss to the All Blacks B team in Dunedin. And obviously, the Wallabies thrown away a massive lead from the first half due to the Rebels players on the field. I don't know why I did not expect that, but 23-20 to the All Blacks, clutch win at the end. Really, really well done. The other game that was very impressive on the weekend was Scotland versus France. France did put on a B team that was very well oiled and looked very smooth and dominant, clear, just everything was very, very crisp for this French B team. And then Scotland went down a player with a red card with Xander Fagerson unnecessarily charging himself into a rock and headbutts a player, in a shoulder charge a player in the head in the process. And as a result, the Scotland had to play with the player down in the bin and being behind on the scoreboard. It was very, very impressive for them to pull themselves out of the fire and win the game 25 points to 21. That's some spirit that you really want to see out of the Scottish team. I've been really enjoying watching Scotland rugby in recent times. I was a little bit concerned going into this match with obviously Stuart Hogg retiring, and that fullback position has been quite a big Stuart Hogg has been carrying a lot of weight from that fullback position for the Scottish team, and with Blair Kinghorn, I think his name was, being filled in to the fullback, Scotland has been looking quite decent against this French team. Wales obviously put out a big win over England in Cardiff. The game was pretty stale in the first half. Both teams not looking very rusty. And second half, the Wales brought on some of their starting players like Dan Biggar and just really blew the game away, 20 points to 9. It was 9 points to 6 at halftime to England, and then Wales unanswered 14 points in the second half to blow England away. Argentina lost to the Springboks. This was a very impressive performance by the Springboks. I thought the Springboks was going to struggle against Argentina team, but the defense for the Springbok team was just absolutely world class. I have not seen any other team was able to do what the Springboks were able to achieve against Argentina. I basically won the game with defense. They were pushing the Argentinian attack backwards. They were gaining territory without the ball in a consistent basis in this test match. So, I mean, obviously, it's very hard to win when you can't go forward. So, it was quite impressive by the Springbok team. Ireland versus Italy, 33 points to 17. This was a bit of a rusty game for the Irish team. Obviously, Johnny Sexton is not able to play due to his suspensions. But we did see the return of this guy. What's his name? Jacob Stockdale, who has been missing for quite a number of years now in the Andy Farrell era, and he was one of the best wingers in the world, and his injuries has been ruled him out for quite a while now. He's getting his first run against Italy, and finally Romania versus USA. Nobody watched, nobody cares, because USA is not involved in the Rugby World Cup. Oh yeah, obviously the Pacific Nation Cup also happened. Samoa beat Tonga quite convincingly, 34 points to 9. Japan lost to Fiji in a very controversial match involving a red card, with Japan playing for most of the match with a play in the bin. Fijians did show a lot of very, very good counter-attack, very good set piece. Just overall, the Fijians, support running, offloading game is just incredible to watch. I think the Fijians going to make it to the semifinals this year, considering that they do have an easy run in the semifinals, potentially against England. And then, in the quarterfinals, potentially England, they can definitely win that one and then go on to the semifinals, potentially against the All Blacks, maybe France. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, the Fijians have a very, very good opportunity here to potentially get third place in the Rugby World Cup. It's very, very impressive. So we've already talked about that. So yes, obviously with the team announcements, the Rugby World Cup there's a lot of nations have announced their Rugby World Cup squad, the 33-man squad. It has been updated from 31 to 33 from previous year. And interesting selections we're going to talk about is firstly out of England. So obviously with the sacking of Eddie Jones and the Steve Borthwick taking over, there was a lot of changes that is kind of, demanded by the pundits. So Steve Borthwick has clearly ran a meat grinder out of the English camp and just churned out a lot of players for the England team and has come up with these selections. And so obviously we're going to talk about the players that I got churned out first, all right? So with this selection, the names that I literally have to write a list because there's so many people that missed out, just churned out of the meat grinder. So let's just go start from the big names. Johnny May, one of the, superstar wingers for Eddie Jones, misses out selections. Henry Slade misses out selections due to it hasn't given a reason yet. Henry Slade has been a pretty steady member in the England squad for Steve Borthwick, and he's been just kicked out of the curb. And that's just what it is. I mean, Henry Slade, for me, his performance has been pretty underwhelming. But I mean, I really don't see anybody else, much better in that outside center position than Henry Slade anyway. We've got Alex Don Brunt, the big one, in number 8. A lot of people want Alex Don Brunt to take over England, to be the future of England rugby, and he just hasn't really delivered. I can't agree with that. Alex Don Brunt has been, his club form hasn't really transitioned into the national team. And obviously, we've got some more names that's missing out. Sam Underhill has been cut, just Borthwick not happy with his form. We've got Guy Porter, cut, who hasn't really been given much time anyway. John Thockana-Singer, the big winger, has been cut. He has been just, the physical dominance aside, he does look a bit rusty out of the wing position. We've already talked about, Johnny Hill, the big hair-pulling lock, has been left out of the curbs. Nick Izevic, another lock, has been left out of the curb. Sam Simmons decided he wasn't going to play, so he was never considered for selection. Again, a huge missing out for England. The England back rowers is looking very big, but the England, the loose forwards looks very big, but they just look, I think, maybe a little bit too slow for back rowers for England's side. Jamie Blamire misses out in the hooker position. Michael Vunipola still not able to recover from injury, and same as Luke Cowan-Dickie are still injured, not able to be available for selections. So yeah, let's look at the England squad who actually did make it. Ollie Chesson comes in at the hooker position. Dan Cole, prop. Tom Curry, hooker. Theo Dan, another hooker. Ben Earls, Ellis Genge, Jamie George, Mauro Toji, Courtney Laws, Lewis Lutlam, Joe Marler, George Martin, David Ribbons. Again, very interesting that he got selected in that locking position. I think he's a lock. Bevan Rudd gets caught in. A little bit interesting selection there. Kyle Sinclair retains his spot. Will Stewart, Billy Vunipola. Again, Billy Vunipola gets added in the team. It's very interesting because he hasn't been given any game time under Steve Borthwick in the Six Nations, and he's selected here. I mean, obviously, Billy Vunipola is, Eddie Jones, one of Eddie Jones' big favorites. Eddie Jones really think Billy Vunipola is one of those big match players that can carry a team when the game is tight. And obviously, Steve Borthwick had him in training and felt like he was living up to his potential once again, and selected him based on I guess reputation. And despite sacking Sam Underhill, saying that he's not going to select him based on reputation, he's not making selections based on reputation. He's clearly selected Billy Vunipola here based on reputation. Jack Walker and Jack Willis comes in to fill out the forwards. In the back line, Henry Arundel, Danny Cairn, Elliot Daly, Owen Farrell, George Ford, yeah, again, another guy who has been selected, who hasn't had any time, I think he might have a few games, came off the bench against Eddie Jones last year, and then obviously he didn't really get any time with Borthwick, so somehow he's selected, and he's not selected based on reputation. So I think it's just the case where they needed 3 fly halves, and they just have to bring him in for that third fly half option. Ollie Lawrence, Max Mellons, Joe Merchant. Joey Merchant is listed as a center, but obviously Joey Merchant can play winger and fullback as well. Marcus Smith, so it's the third and number 10. So whether or not they're going to play Owen Farrell at 12, it's yet to be seen. But Marcus Smith, it seemed to be the reserve number 10 at the moment. And the most likely setup will be Owen Farrell at 10. We got Freddie Stewart coming in a fullback, Manu Tuilangi back in health, Jack Van Porvier, Anthony Watson returning from health as well, and Ben Youngs to round out the most capped player for the England team to round out the halfback position for England selections. So that's the England 33-man squad going to Rugby World Cup as of now. So yes, obviously the English media, English pundits, Andy Gould, he's just the worst, the absolute worst, this guy. So obviously when Eddie Jones was in charge, you might remember that this guy came out every week, complained about Eddie Jones' rhetorics, and got the whole public up and a roar about how Eddie Jones talks too much shit before a match. And he's come out and criticizing, believe it or not, Borthwick not engaging and getting people fired up in his post-match, in his team announcements, in his interviews. So he's complaining that Borthwick is not talking enough shit. I mean, and he literally says that he's bouncing off questions like a politician. What do you want, mate? What do you want? You complain. Anyway, let's just move on. So obviously the Springboks also have made their team announcement. A couple of big names missed it out. Lukamio Um's very disappointing. He's injured following his game against Argentina. Lou Diaca is the one that really surprised a lot of people who misses out. He really didn't have much game time. That's the reason why he missed it out. He had a bit of a illness last week, so he was scheduled to play against Argentina, but because of the illness, he wasn't let onto the field. And then as a result, a lack of game time, Lou Diaga has missed out on Springboks selections. Another big name missed out is Handré Pollard. They have talked about in the past that they're going to pick up Pollard just for his goal kicking, but it looked like the management is very happy with the current goal kickers that is available to them with Manu de Bok, Cheslin Colby, and obviously Faf de Klerk. And they have opted to leave him out of the squad. And obviously, Handré Pollard has been injured for a while. He's not really in game form. It's massive risk taking him into the Rugby World Cup. So they, that's the decision making there. They have, on the other hand, picked up Sia Khaleesi, who had a ACL knee construction, and he's still injured, but they think that he will be okay during some point in the Rugby World Cup. So let's go through some of the squads for the South Africans. We've got Stephen Kitsoff, Vincent Koch, Frasma Herbe, Ox Ncha, and Trevor Nyakani rounding up the props. The hookers, we've got Malcolm Marks, Bungin Bunabi, and obviously the third selection hooker is Dion Fourie, who is selected, right? Oh yeah, Dion Fourie is utility forward. Yeah, so Dion Fourie round out as a third option hooker, with obviously the Joseph Dweeba missing out on the hooker position. Lock positions, we've got Ibn Etibeth. John Klein surprisingly gets a selection for the Springboks. Marvin Ori, RG Snyman. I'm surprised they picked Klein over Lou Diaca, someone who's more fitted to the Springbok structure. I am very, very surprised. So John Klein gets caught in. Peter Sef Dutoy in the loose forwards. Sia Khaleesi still injured. Huaga Smith, Marco van Staden, Jasper Visa, and Dwayne Vermeulen, the oldest Springbok ever, I guess. But he is the Rock, so he will be okay. And then we've got utility forwards, Dion Fourie and Franco Mostert. In the back line, we've got Faf de Klerk. Jaden Hendrickse has been called in. Jaden Hendrickse is still working through some issues with his getting himself in form. He was one of the favorites to be in the starting positions for the Springboks in the number 9 jersey, but just due to family issues, I think he's been out of the field for a bit. He was available for selections last week, and again not selected due to return to play protocols. And then we've got Kobus Reinach and Grant Williams to round out the 4 halfback options for the Springboks. Fly half, we've got Manny de Bok and Damien Willemse, the only 2 that is available for them. I guess they could potentially run what's his name? Cheslin Kobe at fly half if things gets really bad, because Kobe did play that in the past. But yeah, that is looking very thin in the fly half position. And the main thing is the goal kicking. Manny de Bok's goal kicking last week has been pretty atrocious, and Damien Willemse's goal kicking is atrocious. So maybe they'll have to Klerk do the kicking. Maybe even Cheslin Kobe to do the goal kicking as well. Centers, we've got Damien Dialandi, Andre Esterhuizen, and Jesse Krill. finishing off the centers. So with Lukamio arm obviously injured is very disappointing and very, 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 very big loss for the Springboks. And the outside backs, we've got Curly Adensa, Cheslin Kobe, Vili LaRue, Makuzula Mapimpi, and then Kanan Moody gets the final spot for the Springbok team. Next up, we've got the All Blacks selections. Obviously, this is All Blacks is just such a good position to win the Rugby World Cup. The only team that can challenge the All Blacks, in my opinion, is France. The All Blacks, all the players are in form, no one is injured, all the key players are healthy, and and they have overabundance of players that is for selection. So obviously, let's talk about the ones that missed out. Sean Stevenson misses out, Sammy Penny Finau misses out, Dallas McLeod, and the big one, Brad Weber, hasn't really been getting much game time. The Ian Foster has been opting for younger and faster halfbacks out of the 9th position, and Brad Weber is just a little bit too slow, I think, for Foster's likings at this current stage of the rugby world. Folau Fakatava misses out due to, I guess, lack of experience. Braden Eno injured, and Joe Moody injured. Ethan Blackadder also injured. Big name. Braden Eno is a big loss in the outside center position for the All Blacks. So outside of those ones, this is a very, 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 very strong All Blacks team. Coming in at hookers, we've got Dan Coles, Somasoni Taukiaho, and Cody Taylor. 3 world-class hookers with very, very experienced to very, very powerful in the form of Somasoni Taukiaho. Props, we got Ethan DeGru, Terrell Lomax, Nipo Laulala, Fletcher Newell, Ofatu Fasi, and Tamati Williams rounding up the props positions. Locks here, this is probably the best locks in the world at the moment, considering, I think this locks is better than the South Africans at the moment, with Scotty Barrett, Bodie Retallick, Tupu Va'ai, and Samuel Whitelock probably going to be coming off the bench. Loose forwards, we got Sam Ken, Shannon Frizzell has been consistent, very consistent on number 6 jersey for the All Blacks, and just been absolutely spectacular. Luke Jacobson will be coming off the bench potentially. Dalton Papali'i off the bench as well, and Adi Savia finish off with number 8 jersey. Halfback, we've got, like I've already talked about, the Ian Foster has opted for more speedy halfbacks, with Finlay Christie, and a very surprising Cam Roygard from the Hurricanes gets the other option, and then Aaron Smith will most likely be the starting halfback. At a fly half, we've got Bowden Barrett, Damien McKenzie, and Richie Mo'unga, with most likely Richie Mo'unga to be starting, and Bowden Barrett potentially, as they've been doing in the fullback position. Midfielders, we've got Geordie Barrett, David Havili returns, which is a very, 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 very big return for the All Blacks. So David Havili has been injured for the Crusaders for quite a while, and he's been very instrumental for the All Blacks. He's probably not even going to get a start, but if something to happen to Geordie Barrett or Rico Ioane, he will be more than capable of stepping in to fill that position. Anton Lennon-Brown also finish off, and Rico Ioane finish off the last 2 midfielders. And outside backs, Caleb Clark, Lester Fa'anga Nuku, finally gets that nod to the Rugby World Cup. Will Jordan, Imoni Narawa, and then Mark Talea to finish off the outside backs for the All Blacks. Imoni Narawa has a bit of an injury at the moment, but he's okay. Will be ready to play for the All Blacks very soon. Argentina also named their squad for the weekend. Obviously, the big one that's been called in is Juan Imhoff, who's left out in the last World Cup and being recalled by Checker at 35 years of age. Nicolas Sanchez, despite not really been playing much of rugby for Argentina, excuse me for a sec. Despite not playing much for Argentina, he's added into the squad just for experience sake. And I think Matias Orlando is a big name that's been missing out. Has been very he's been very involved in Argentina team in the outside center position. And this is something that I thought was very, very interesting coming out from Michael Checker. In modern rugby, I quote, "The kicking game is important." How Michael Checker has grown over 4 years, considering the last Rugby World Cup. He publicly refused to play the kicking game against Eddie Jones in the Rugby World Cup quarterfinals and lost, right? Absolutely refused to play the kicking game. And how Michael Checker has grown as a coach, and really, really good to see. So let's quickly go through the selections for Argentina. Nahu Tetas Caparo comes in for the Argentina. I know some of you guys really like that pronunciation. Francisco Gomez for the other, I think he's a prop for, it's a tight head prop for Argentina. Joe Scalvi, another tight head prop. Thomas Gaggio, Lucy Pop, Idrado Bello I think he's a tight end prop. He's a prop anyway. Julian Montoya comes in as a captain. Augustin Creevy will be a hooker. And again, a very experienced player. He's just got his 100th test cap. Ignacio Ruiz, Matias Alemano, Thomas Lavanini, Guido Petty, Facundo Iza, Pablo Matera, Juan Martin Gonzalez, Santiago Grondona, Marcos Crema returns to the team. He's been out the Argentinian side for a few games. Rodrigo Broni and Pedro Rubiolo, the newcomer getting put into the squad for Argentina. Gonzalo Bertrano, the number 9. Thomas Cubelli, the veteran number 9. Latrano Banzan Velez. I'm pretty sure he has a Velez as his name. But anyway, Velez Santiago, Banzan Velez, that's actually the same person. So that's actually one person. Luciano Banzan Velez is the name of this player. Santiago Carreras is the number 10. Nicolas Sanchez will be covering Santiago from the bench. Sanchez, every time he's on the field, he seems to pick up some niggling injury and gets taken off early. So yeah, I hope his body's going to be able to hold up for the Argentinians for the Rugby World Cup. Santiago Chocobares, Lucio Cinti, Jeremiah De La Fuente, Matias Moroni, Emiliano Buffini, Matias Carrera, Rodrigo Isgor, Juan Cruz Malia, Martin Bongado, and Juan Imhoff rounds up the team for Argentina. And obviously, the Fijians have also announced their team with a lot of players from the Fijian Endurers. The big name that's been missed out, and this surprised me quite a lot as well, is Ben Vola. Yes, the guy has been really, really good goal kicker for Fijians, and he's been left out because the goal kick has been a big issue for the Fijians, and obviously it was an issue for the Endurers in Super Rugby, but with massive improvements to the kicking to the goal kickers, Teddy Teller and Caleb Muntz is the coaching staff deemed that their goal kicking is good enough to have Ben Villavola leaving out of the squad. So yeah, really big name left out there. Let's quickly go through the names for the Fijians as well. We've got a lot more to go. So we got Ironi Maui, Reni Ravai, Joe Kuroi Duradura, Masake Donge, Luke Tangi, Samu Tavake. The hookers, we got Taviti Inka Nivere, Sam Matavesi, Zurel Tongi Tama. And then we've got locks, we've got Isoa Nasilasila, Temo Mayana Vanua. In the backs row, we've got Te'ahi Varu Siri Kidaveta. We got Albert Tuisui. And we got Lekima Tangin Tagi Valu. In the back rowers, we've got Lavani Botia, Vilive Mira, got a Meni Derelangi, and we've got William Mata. In halfbacks, we got Frank Lamani. We got Penny Matavalu. In the halfback, we've got Simone Kuravoli. Fly half, we've got Caleb Muntz. The other fly half, we got Teddy Teller. On the winger, we got Joshua Tuisova. Outside winger, Semi Radrandra. Outside center and wing, we got Waisia Naya Sevalu. We got Iosef Marci. And then we got in the fullback, in the wing, we got Celestino Ravu Tamandra. On the wing, we've got Vinaya Hambosi. And we got Giuta Vanicolo. And then we've got Calavetti Ravovo. In the fullback and outside positions, we've got Sereti Makara. And then we got Isaiah Dorasese. So that's the Fijian squad, 23, going to Rugby World Cup in 2023. So for the Wallabies, actually, we'll probably just forget about this. I just want to talk about this one thing, right? This guy is Ponfa Maosili. He's one of the biggest props in Australia, and he's like 135 kilos. Standing next to Angus Bell, who's apparently makes him look like a skinny winger. Like, this guy's huge. It's absolutely humongous, and Angus Bell is making him look skinny, right? I just want to say, that's all I want to say with this article. So let's just move on. Some interesting money talks comes out of France. So if the French team wins the Rugby World Cup, each player is going to receive 200,000 euros. This was apparently down from the original estimation of 330,000 euros. And obviously, the best place to earn your money is to go to England. Just by appearing at any stage in the pool stage, you get $100,000, and then they will have more pay bonus by appearing later in the tournament, which is very unlikely at this stage. The All Blacks in 2019 was going to get $150,000 to defend, and obviously at the moment we don't know what they're going to be getting for winning the Rugby World Cup. Scotland obviously came out, like we already talked about, winning against France. And the Ben White is looking like he might have an ankle injury following this technically illegal hit. And we've got some red cards in Japan match. Let's just move on. So we've already talked about that. And then we've got, so this was an interesting one. The Juan Cruz Malia was the reckless hit on Grant Williams, which knocked him out, 15 seconds into the test match. He tried to charge the ball down. Actually managed to charge the ball, but still smacked his hip onto the onto Grant Williams' face and knocked him out. So a lot of people thought this should have been a red card, but the referee on the field decided that this was a legitimate charge down, and then it was just unfortunate that he, caught the Grant Williams on the head on the way down. So with obviously the ruling is that hitting a player in the head in that charge-out situation is considered reckless play, but they have taken into consideration the fact that it was a charge down, so they reduced this potentially like a 6-week suspension down to 2-week suspension for Malia. So interesting decision there. There's only 2-week suspension. Yes, they did explain why Diaga, already talked about this, Diaga was missing out. And Gatlin is talking about how Wales is looking really good. They've got England coming up at Twickenham. And then in Italy, Tommaso Menocello has been ruled out of the World Cup due to an injury. And finally, the ex-Fijian coach Kota has been called into as a consultant for Romania. And that is the news, guys. 27 minutes. And thanks for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe. I really do appreciate you being here. And I'll see you guys this weekend for more reviews. Cheers.